Hey everyone, my name is Candice Dyer, and this is Canna Corner. It's a show designed to get patient stories out there to the public. We broadcast every Monday at 7 p.m. live on Cannabis Open Carry Walks, and then as well as KM 420 Radio and WJAE 420 Radio. We are brought to you by Cannabis Open Carry Walks, the Human Solution International, and I Take Liberty with My Coffee. So today, y'all, we are not going to be live, but there is a reason. Today, I am interviewing Mike Wise. He is with the Patients Over Profit. He's a huge activist in the cannabis industry, and our time zones are different. So we are pre-recording this one. All the rest will be live like normal because I like to interact with y'all. But so let's just go ahead and get this started. And I'm bringing in Mike Wise. Hi, Mike. How are you doing? It says that you are muted. I think I can unmute you.
I got it.
There we go. Hell yeah.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. I'm very excited about this interview. You may not know, but I actually have a bucket list of people that I want to interview, and you are on that list. So I'm very excited today to have you. Thank you for
I'm
joining me.
excited to be here. I'm excited to be here for sure.
I know you're so busy. But so let's get started. For the people who don't know, which I don't know many who don't, who is Mike Wise?
That's a good that's a good one. I do a lot of things. So lately I'm pretty known for my cannabis activism, kind of pushing the boundaries there, like kind of not following the law and urging others to not follow the law because in my opinion they're crooked and wrong and it's only right of us to not follow wrong laws.
Right,
It's a
right.
funny way of saying it. But other than that, I'm an athlete and a filmmaker. So I was born in Texas and lived there for 30 years of my life, um, about 30 years. And then I moved to Colorado, and now I'm living in Europe.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. I don't know if you know this, but I live in Texas, and so I totally understand the whole wanting to move out of Texas thing, especially being a cannabis patient. What is it that made you want to move to Colorado?
It's tough. I was trying to get out of Texas as soon as I could, to be honest. Um, and that's because I come from a political family. So my father served in the state House of Representatives for 4 terms. So for
Wow.
8 years, I lived and breathed in the Capitol. Everything was the Capitol, politics, politics, politics. And I had to be quiet about cannabis because it was kind of a thing you didn't talk about, because people would either laugh at you or try to put you in jail. I mean, it's one extreme to the other. Um, and like for myself, I was using cannabis all the time when I lived in Texas, but I was smoking it because I didn't really know about oil back in this
Right.
time. This was like 2005 to 2012. And I graduated from the University of Texas in Austin. Um, but then I got jailed. What happened was I was on my way to work one day. I was working for a Longhorn network, actually. Um, it was brand new. We were just setting up everything. And it was like 10 in the morning. I was on my way to work and a cop pulled me over like a block from my house. I feel like he was waiting for me.
Right.
Um, and so it was like near a school and I had about a gram of cannabis and he was trying to threaten me about being in a school zone and all this uh, kind of kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm just going to work right now. It's 10 in the morning. Like I didn't do anything wrong. I think my inspection was out or something on my car. And I'm like, dude, how do you know that? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're
At
not
that time,
supposed
like,
to
there was a sticker.
run it until they're not supposed to run it until you break a law, but they do it all the time.
Yeah, there's so many. And then so like that was my first arrest. And then within 3 months, I got arrested like 5 more times or 6 more times because every time a cop was behind me, he would run my license plate and see that I was charged for cannabis. So I'd instantly get searched. Um, so I got pulled over and searched quite frequently after this, and to a point where I finally had to go to jail.
Man,
Um, and that's a whole long story that I don't know if I want to go into, but it was like basically 2 years of my life I had to go
man.
into a county jail or to like a state hospital for
Right.
whatever reason the police can do this.
My son is
Um,
actually in the state hospital right now for cannabis, and so I totally feel your pain right there. It's a hard thing.
I was all over. They sent me to San Antonio State Hospital, Austin Lakes Hospital, and Austin State Hospital also. Um, and they can only keep me there until they put me in front of a judge, after a certain amount of time. And then I talked to the judge, and the judge is like, "Dude, you're staying. You don't belong in here." But it ended up basically being 2 years of my life. And so as soon as I was done with that, all my charges were done. I was like, I want to leave. I don't want to put up with this anymore. I don't want
Right,
this to happen again. Um, and so when I was actually leaving, the day I was leaving for Colorado, I have a Lincoln Navigator. I don't have it anymore, but at the time I had it. It had like 24-inch rims, and I was pulling a U-Haul trailer.
right,
And so I went from where I was born, basically in South Texas by like McAllen, and I drove to Colorado. So I probably went somewhere between El Paso and like Amarillo, somewhere in the middle is where I finally left Texas. By the time I got from that point from my house, I want to say I was pulled over 8 to 12 times. I can't remember the specific number because it's been a few years.
right.
But just in this one trip alone,
Oh my
I
gosh,
got
you
pulled
had a
over that
target
many
on your
times.
back.
Yeah. So it's like, dude, I'm not. Every time I'm like, dude, I have nothing. It's just my stuff. I'm moving. Like, please just let me go. And they like see my record and all this, and they're like, okay, just go. But state troopers, what local cops, and so that was definitely the sign for sure that I was like needing to leave and not come back.
Right, right.
And since that day, I haven't stepped back on Texas soil.
Man, that's horrible. I'm actually in the middle of leaving with a group of people by the middle of next year. We're going to be going up there and starting a patient over profit nonprofit so that people can get
Mhm.
their medicine because it's not covered by insurance. So a lot of people can't afford it. And we don't want people to die because they can't afford this cure. And
Yeah.
so that's what we are doing. We are moving and starting in an alternative healing farms up there in Colorado for that
Yeah, that's
reason.
cool.
So
That's really
any
cool.
advice for us?
When I went, it was kind of tough. So, I mean, it wasn't tough. When I left Colorado, it was starting to get tougher. So the certain cities and counties have put laws in place, like temporary city laws, ordinances, I guess is what they're called,
Right.
where they limit it to 12 plants or
Yep.
something per person. But if you go maybe and find the right county, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I know there's one or two Pueblo area.
Yep. That's one of them that we're checking out. That and Trinidad.
Okay, yeah, I think that's another one. And you can have like 5 patients signed under you if that's still the
Oh
law,
wow.
and you could go. Yeah, you with that many patients, if they each have 99 plant counts, you can grow like 500, almost 500 plants,
Right.
and make a lot of medicine with that. And that's what I did. The right before I left, I had a whole basement full of
Oh
plants,
wow.
and I cropped out, made it onto oil, and left basically.
Wow. Well, I know the reason, and that's my next question. You actually changed my mind on because I always fought, even though it's not popular here in Texas for recreational, because of the fact that I didn't believe that they should have a right. We shouldn't have to go to a doctor for our med. We should be able to homegrown in our house. But the
Yeah,
fact that you were telling me about all the regulations in a video that I watched kind of changed my mind on that because of all the damn regulations they're putting on it. Is that part of the reason that you moved from Colorado?
Um, no, that was kind of coincidental. I was very involved, so like I was in the Capitol, weekly pretty much, because there was some bill they were trying to make every week about trying
Right,
to prohibit cannabis, mainly access for patients, and just trying to make it harder. And they
right.
wanted business, they want people to go towards businesses.
Mhm.
And so I actually left this because I've been wanting to always leave. Um, I got in an argument with my dad about this yesterday, but I just never have agreed with the mainstream politics in America. And
I
so,
totally agree with
um,
you.
even when I turned 18, I voted
It's
for
all
Ralph Nader.
corporate, like, money is all that matters here, it's crazy.
Yeah, red and blue parties are corporate parties,
Yep,
and so my first time I could vote, 18, I voted for Ralph Nader, and I like the Green Party. And but then even then, it's like so many years of only seeing a debate with the top two candidates and not seeing like issues I care about, like getting our dependence off of oil, um,
exactly.
and stopping the military industrial complex and giving money to big companies to kill people in the Middle East.
Right,
Um, and neither party talks about that because they get all the money from these Northrop Grumman and all these Halliburton, these big defense contractors.
right,
Um, and so I've always been upset about that. I've never paid taxes my entire life unless it was automatically taken out of my pay.
right,
Um, and because I didn't want my money to go towards for dropping bombs on people. Um, and so just that alone is was one of the main motivators. Like a large portion of my life, I've been pacifist, like completely against wars.
right,
Um, and so that weighed heavy on me always. And as a child, I was fortunate. I came to Europe 2 or 3 times, and then in 2012 or somewhere around there, I worked the French Open for 30 days for the Tennis Channel, and I just fell in love with the culture in Europe. It's a lot more open, and so I've been trying to leave as soon as I could. Everything came together at the right time, for me to go. Then I got to meet Rick Simpson, and he kind of was like, "Hey, come live with me in Croatia, if you're tired of the U.S." And I was like, "Okay, you don't have to tell me twice. Like, I'll be
that's
back.
awesome.
Trust me." And so I just sold all my stuff and I moved, and that was 3.5 years ago.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Rick Simpson is an amazing guy. I've always liked both of you because y'all are both like cannabis open carry walks like us. We don't believe in making profit off any of this. 100% of any of the proceeds that we make go back to educating the public on cannabis. And the whole reason that I made this show was because not enough of the patient stories were getting out there. And I felt like when we were on the streets holding those signs and stuff, all these people would come up to us and they'd start telling me us these stories, these fabulous stories about how they cured their grandma or how they helped their grandchild with seizures or and I felt like that was something that needed to be out there. Like they needed an outlet to come talk about what they do or what happened. So that's why I started this show. I know that you are dealing with Crohn's disease. Well,
Damn.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
How does cannabis help you with Crohn's disease?
Well, typically, your normal Crohn's patient is in and out of the hospital. Weekly. They're always going for something, and the doctors can never help them. Um, and so I was fortunate to never get into that track. So I never had surgeries for my disease or anything. Pretty much as soon as I was starting to get tested for it, I was already like, I don't want to deal with doctors anymore. I don't really like I never really liked doctors, to be honest. And so I, at this, back when I was in Colorado, I was filming a movie, and it was called Illegally Alive. And anybody watching, if they haven't seen it, you can go to YouTube and watch it for free.
It is a
Um,
fantastic, fantastic movie.
I had a lot of fun filming that one actually, and I that's where I actually really got into cannabis, to the activism part and everything, is because I got to meet so many patients and growers and everyone, the industry people also, um, and my whole life I've been dealing with these kind of symptoms, but I'm always tough. I'm always like a tough guy. Being a skateboarder, you crash on the cement like 100 times a day, so it kind of just toughens you up in general. I think that
Right.
played a big part in shaping me how I am, and so I kind of just dealt with the symptoms and still was kind of seen as much as possible and just tried to duck to the restrooms and try to not get noticed. Um, but it started to just get worse and worse where that became harder to do, and I spent more and more time vomiting and just being in the restroom all the time, especially in the mornings. I could never get a full night's sleep. That was the toughest part because without like a full night's sleep, you're pretty much screwed the whole day.
Right.
And so I couldn't really sleep and I couldn't really eat right. And that's another thing. If you can't sleep and you can't eat, um, I was a mess for sure.
Definitely.
Um, and then this was kind of around the same time I was filming the movie. The main character has Crohn's disease, and I heard about Rick Simpson. This is when I heard about him, but I didn't like it. Never really had. I guess I don't want to say it never really mattered to me, but it was never like something that interested me because I wasn't really considering myself a patient,
Right.
and so I look up about him, and now I'm doing a movie on patients, and I see that he helps cure a lot of people from cancer. And so then I kind of just try to put two and two together, and I say, well, okay, well, cancer is like the serious disease known to man, and Rick cured it with this oil. So what if I take this oil and use it for Crohn's disease? Surely it can cure a disease that's less serious
Right.
than cancer. And at the time, there wasn't really any stories about it. And, I mean, I shouldn't say any. Shauna Banda was out there, and I love Shauna. She's a great person. Um, and so I kind of just did the protocol of taking. I took 90 grams in 120 days of water.
Right.
And from the first day I took it, it was immediate change. Like my symptoms were pretty much all gone. I could sleep fully at night. I wanted to eat full meals, which was a huge change for me. Um, and so I just now I take now I take between 1 to 3 grams per month of oil, and it just depends on kind of how reckless I want to be
Right.
with my body. Because like alcohol is a pretty bad trigger, but sometimes I want to go out, and so if I go out, have a couple glasses of wine,
Right.
I'll just take some oil before I leave, and then I don't have kind of like the cramps in my stomach or
Right.
the need to vomit at night, and I can sleep fully still. So I kind of just take it as needed now. But I mean, I, I have I have a full life again. I can do everything I want. I have no restrictions on going out and doing whatever I want to do. So that's another big part on why I really stick with cannabis and try to educate others about it, because without it, I wouldn't, be able to be here,
Right. Right.
talking
No, that's
talking with you.
amazing. I mean, you've basically cured yourself without all those pharmaceuticals that give you 100 other issues. And they're very addicting. Cannabis isn't addicting. You don't get sick and throw up and have the shakes and the shits if you don't have it. Uh,
Right.
like you might want it because you feel better, mentally, but that
Mm.
addiction that's isn't there like with the pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah, you smoke cannabis every day for 10 years and you stop, you'll notice a small change, but
Right.
not like taking opiates or something for 10 years and you stop that. You can die from that.
Yes, exactly.
So it's much it's much different.
I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit also about I know that your dose is a little high dose and a lot of people go, well, you're going to be high all the time and stuff. But I know and when I watched one of your interviews or speeches, you were talking about which is what I kind of deal with because I have that high dose. I deal with PTSD, anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. I was on pharmaceuticals for years, and all of a sudden just stopped. I've been off of them for 12 years now. Just take cannabis. I don't have any of the issues I had before.
Wow.
But I smoke all day. And people are
Yeah.
like, well, how do you function? Tell people about, I guess, how should I ask this? The tolerance level that you build up and how you're not really stoned like you would be the first time you smoke.
Yeah. Well, you do build a tolerance, and I wish I could describe this more scientifically, but I actually recently learned about this from a documentary I was watching. I went on a cannabis documentary binge, and there's this kind of like switch in your brain, and after you consume cannabis pretty much daily for 2 to 3 weeks, this switch kind of flips, and so you no longer get that. Like sometimes a lot of people, they'll smoke cannabis once and they'll kind of freak out and
Right.
like feel too high or something, or their heartbeat is super fast, and this can happen. But if you kind of gain this tolerance, um, your body gets used to it, and you no longer will experience those at all. And
Right.
there's a scientific explanation way of describing it, but
Right.
it was pretty wild when I saw that, because it does make a lot of sense. And so like with the oil, the way we generally tell people to take it is gradually.
Right.
So when you increase your dose gradually, yeah, you'll be really high. You will be super high. But you'll get used to it.
You
So
don't feel
you'll
like,
be able to function.
yeah. Yeah. You don't like
People,
feel like that first time, like you get used to it and it levels. It ends up just leveling you out and making you normal. That's how I explain it. Like,
yeah, people will notice, and they told me that when I was up to a gram a day, they told me that I was super high and maybe being a little silly. Um, but the other thing that is that a lot of the times we're fighting super serious diseases. So
right.
it's like you take any other type of narcotic
Exactly.
pharmaceutical, and there's going to be a super big high associated with this. And so
Exactly.
like you got to expect to have some sort of euphoria or high when that's what's needed for defeating a terminal disease like that. And
Exactly.
then, of course, you can put the oil in a suppository and put it in your butt.
I hear that's the best
And,
way to do it. Tanya Sand, a nurse that I watch and follow on Facebook, she talks about that and she does that. And she said it's the best way your body absorbs it the best.
yeah, there's the most blood vessels down there. And I did actually the last half, so like my last 45 grams out of my 90 grams, I took via suppository. When I found this out too, because someone had done a study in Europe about this, and when you do that, though, you don't know get this head
Right.
high too. A lot of patients have a problem with the head high. So when you do it, you'll get more of like a body type of high, which is completely different.
Right. Like taking an edible, basically. Kind of the
Yeah,
difference a little
kind
bit.
of.
Kind of.
It's a weird thing. Like I don't know. It's just weird. Your your stomach feels kind of high. It's a weird way to say that, but
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
it's
Yes,
yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
totally different.
Yeah. So, I know I have a couple more questions for you. Let's see. What are the laws like where you're living right now, as
I
far
move
as
around
cannabis?
quite a lot. I move around a lot since I've been in Europe. The beauty about being where I am right now is they call this the Schengen zone. Um, it's like Schengen, and it's like mainly Central Europe. So from Portugal through Spain, France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, Poland. Um, I want to say it's 14 countries. They signed an agreement to not restrict travel within these 14 countries.
Oh, wow.
So you can go now in a car or in a plane, really. Once you're here and you're going from one country to the other, they can't stop you, and they're not supposed to check your passport or anything. So it's
Oh, wow.
unrestricted free movement. So I bought an RV basically. And so I just completed a trip from like Portugal all the way to Austria, then to the Netherlands, and now I'm in Poland. Um, because they're all within this zone and no one stops me. It's and so the laws are quite, they vary from place to place. I gotta
Right.
do a dab, but this one's second though.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Go right ahead.
So mainly like EU, they also, it's kind of interesting here. Like EU has a governing body, basically called the EU,
Right.
that governs the other countries within Europe. So they'll make laws, and um, regarding, it's mainly CBD is what's legal here in Europe, and places like Portugal. I have some land in Portugal. They have complete decriminalization of any and all drugs. And then where we are in Poland now, it's pretty illegal to have anything THC related. But they're this now. Most of the countries are this now doing CBD, and so it's kind of a whole new thing because um, cops are getting confused, and
Right.
people will have THC, and they'll just be like, no, this is
Oh,
CBD,
see.
like, yeah. And they sell it in all the stores. So like pretty much any country in the EU now that you go to, at a tobacco store, you're gonna see 100 different types of CBD flowers, um, that you can buy, and they have CBD hash and all this kind of stuff. Um, but like, I don't know that. I don't know if THC will ever be legal. I
Right.
really don't know if it will. They really want to make a medicine from it, and somehow try to keep it illegal for as long as they can, because they,
Yeah.
it
It's all
works for
about
them and they
making
make money.
money. I mean,
Mhm.
right now, the way it is, they make a lot of money by putting people in prison and the
Billions.
probation and the fines and the fees. And then not only that, but the pharmaceutical industry makes a lot of money on keeping people sick. Nothing they do
Yeah.
really cures them. They got to take this medicine for the rest of their life. And they see
Yep.
that cannabis is curing people. They don't want to do that. So I think that's one of the main reasons, like you said, THC will never be legal because they can't make money off of it. You can grow it in your home.
Yeah. It's really crazy. A lot of my speeches, I'll kind of bring that home at the end. It's like, dude, I'm this a punk skateboarder kid. And, look how I've helped cure 3,000 people at this point of diseases, and if I
Right.
can do this, then, you sure as hell can too.
Exactly.
And, and the pharmaceutical companies, they know this for sure. They don't
Right.
want people to.
Right.
That's what
Definitely.
I'm all about, dude. I'm all about growing it yourself and making this yourself.
Homegrown. Yep. Me too. We should be able to grow it. We used to say tomatoes, but then I learned that there are regulations for tomatoes. So just
There is
grow
and
it in
there
your
isn't
house, no
though.
regulations.
You can still go to Home Depot and get a whole ton of seeds and grow 10,000 tomatoes in your house and turn it into a sauce, a
Right.
concentrated sauce. You can still do all that legally.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Well, cool deal. I kind of did a thing on Facebook this time. I don't normally do, but since a lot of people that I deal with know you, I asked them if they had any questions for you. And
cool.
so at this point, I'm going to kind of just shoot. I'm going to give you the name of the person and tell you what their question was. So
Cool.
Farah asked, "What was your inspiration to lead a cannabis movement?"
Um, Really the inspiration was being a part of it and seeing that there was a lack of leadership, and seeing that there was, most of the people that were known, I say known, for being cannabis activists, were really this involved with trying to make some money. And
Right.
unfortunately, a lot of them ended up selling out and getting behind
Yep.
laws that prohibit patients access to cannabis in one way, shape, or form, and and it's really sad to see these people take a whole organization with them, and support a bill that can that makes it harder for that puts people in jail. Basically, every time you make one of these bills, that makes, oh, you need to have a lock on your door of your grow room, or you need to, a smell thing or whatever. Every time you make one of these laws, that gives the police a right to go into a place
Right.
that they didn't have the right to go into before, when we said, hey, the only law was you can grow up to 99 plants and that's it.
Right.
There's no other regulations, there's no other stipulations. You can grow 99, do it. And that's the law the people made in Colorado. And as soon as they did that, with a referendum, the people voted in, then the politicians came in, and the businesses came in and
Right.
restrict. And it's just a small thing one week, and then the next week, and then the
Yep.
next week, and next week, and then before you know it, someone like myself could grow 500 plants as a caregiver, can now only grow 12, and only 6 of them can be in flower.
Right.
Um, so so my inspiration was really just kind of telling people about my anger and my frustration, because I see this, and it pisses me off, and I don't think it should be this way. So I just want to help educate people to just wake up, and to the lies and the corruption, and kind of just, my message now is kind of just forget it all, just grow it, just
Right.
ignore it, grow it, deal with the consequences later. You're a patient. There shouldn't even be consequences if it gets to that point. Tell them, hey, man, this is my story. This is my case. I want to say it was Robert Randall in the 70s, came up with this defense, and that's how he got prescribed cannabis. The United States government still gives this guy weed every day, 300 joints a month.
Yep.
And he told them that he had glaucoma, he was going blind, he learned that cannabis can help glaucoma. So therefore, any sane person would break the law to get cannabis to fix themselves from going blind. And that
Exactly.
defense worked, and
Wow.
so that's kind of what I want to tell people now, is just tell them that same thing is like, look, any sane person would break the law to do this, because
Right.
I need to heal myself. I've tried everything else. And a lot of the times these patients have tried everything else, and they've done these 12 different pills that, like you were saying, and
Yep.
they've gone through all the side effects. And it's like you turn to a plant that you have in your closet and you have no side effects, and you have
Exactly.
you have all your money in your pocket.
Exactly. That's good. Good answer. Being in Texas and not being able to petition and being an activist here and going to the Capitol and watching all of it, I basically came to the same conclusion. We There's nothing we really can do. We just sit here and beg these politicians to help us. We go, we testify, we cry, we what they don't care. It's all about the money. And it's frustrating, and that's one of the reasons I'm just like done. I'm like, I got to get out of here, so I'm getting an RV.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
fun,
going to Colorado. But we're still going to keep fighting here in Texas. We're still going to do walks in Amarillo area and come to Texas every once in a while and fight here.
Cool.
But it's just it it's an endless cycle that's not getting anywhere, and I'm not helping anyone, you know what I mean? And I want to help people. That's my nature. So I think I could
It
help
is
more
tough,
people there.
it is tough. Like Robert Randall, I just mentioned, this fight was in the 70s, and people have been fighting every decade for this plant.
Right.
And it's just, it's like we've said before in the same interview. It's like they have the grip on the system, and the system earns them money, so they want to prevent change to that system in any way they can.
Right.
Um, and and when it's at the expense of people's lives, that's when it's a,
Exactly. People are
it should be a
dying.
criminal offense. Yeah.
Yep. It's sad. It's sad. So moving on to the next question. Carrie Cannon asked, how do we find you since Facebook keeps shutting you down?
Well, Facebook will, I'll tell you what, look, don't shoot the messenger, Facebook. But no, this is a cool shirt for Julian Assange that I got from
Hell yeah,
WikiLeaks.
I
But
love Julian.
but it's actually pretty crazy how hard they've cracked down on me. And luckily, I'm smart enough to outsmart them, because I've been doing this Facebook thing for a while. Um, I actually have had a profile since Facebook was only for college students, and so I've been shut down. My personal profile has been shut down like 15 times or something. And it got to a point where if I make a profile named Mike Wise, if I do it, it gets within a day or two, it's automatically shut down.
Right.
So I made a way to keep my page active, and that's kind of the main thing for me. So my public page, the Mike Wise Show page, is going stronger than ever.
Heck yeah.
And I have a public figure page, but I generally don't direct people there. If you're a Facebook user, go to the show page, the Mike Wise Show, which I started for pretty much the same reason you said, was to get this message out there.
Right.
Um, about patient stories. And so I still have that page, even though I'm not doing as many shows anymore. I need to do something. I always say I need to, and I never do. But I feel like I've said everything I need to say, So,
Right.
um, but I'm on Instagram. People have been messaging me on there since my profile got shut down on Facebook, and it's just at Mike Wise Show on Instagram. I have LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn under Mike Wise. YouTube, you got Mike Wise Show on YouTube. And yeah, those are probably the main places to find me. And always my website, if people are in need or patients are in need of medicine, cannabis oil, THC specifically. I provide it to people all around the world. It doesn't matter what the laws are. And so the most important page is that one. And that's the one that's always going to be active. It's a .com.
Right.
I can disappear off all social medias, but you can still go there. You can still order. I will get a notification immediately. I have no employees. So it's oglabsgenetics.com.
That's
That's
awesome.
kind of my website. And that's how you can find me.
That's great. That's great. And if any patients have any questions, you are out to answer anything. So if any of our followers or people listening right now, go to the mikewise.com or Facebook and ask him, and he will try to direct you the best way he can to for your issues. Right.
Yeah, oglabsgenetics.com.
Heck yeah. Well, Mike, I think that wraps our show up for today. Thank you so
Cool.
much again for coming. Like I said, you were on my bucket list,
You're
and
welcome. Thank you
so
for
I get
having me.
to check you off. Rick Simpson is the next one, and then Alexis Bortel. She's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but till she's done with her cases, she can't do interviews. So I gotta wait on that one. But
Yeah,
so it was very exciting to be able to interview today. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Was there anything that you wanted to tell anybody about, anything coming up that people need to know about?
Um, I created the Cannabis Awards to kind of help get more attention to people in the community that aren't getting attention and recognition. People love kind of throwing around recognition within the industry, so I wanted to make a way for us to help the community.
Right.
So I'm doing a new edition of those. Hopefully this month I should be launching the nominations and everything. And that will be on my Cannabis Activism Now page, which shout out to Carrie for asking the question earlier. She's been writing a few articles.
Yeah.
It says cannabisactivismnow.com. And just besides that, to keep your head up, guys. I know it's tough being in Texas, and I know you got to do what you got to do. So just know that there's other people out there that are doing the same thing, and you're not alone. And hopefully one day we can overcome these crooked, arcane laws.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much once again. You have a wonderful day, Mike.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Heck yeah, y'all. Mike Wise. Hell yeah. I think that was a pretty good interview. I hope y'all learned a lot. And obviously that's what this is about, letting y'all learn about information, what can help you. Cannabis is a medicine and it helps many people. And yeah, so heck yeah. I just wanted to give a big shout out once again to KM420 Radio, WJAM WJAE radio. They are now broadcasting the replay of the shows. So if you missed the live show on Facebook on Cannabis Open Carry Walks at 7 p.m. on Monday, you can now watch it on Wednesday at 4:20. Ganja Girl, Rena McCain, she is broadcasting at 4:20, and then Farrah Hunter is broadcasting on KM 420 radio on Sundays at 2. And then Wendy Love Edge, big shout out to her. We love her. WJAE 420radio.com. She is broadcasting every Friday at 4:20. So y'all can go check out this show at all those places. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I love y'all. Peace.